drum recording, since we're in a home studio setup, and like most home studios, we don't have a separate live room and control room, it's kind of tricky to hear what's going on when it's actually happening. So what I was doing is, as we were doing like a warm-up take, I would sort of visually look at the meters on the screen and set what the gain should kind of look like, where it should be hitting, just by moving like the gain knobs on the preamp. For the guitars, I'm using two microphones. I'm using this one, which is the ribbon that we were using earlier for one of our center overhead. That's really nice. It's nice to use a ribbon because it captures like a pretty full picture of the amp, but definitely a lot of the lower information. And then I'm using the SM57, which I always just like love the way it sounds on guitar in general, but it captures a lot of the like higher, bitier information, and together they like are a really nice pair. So when I'm setting them up on the amp, and I did this with the bass amp too, I always take out a flashlight and check to see where the cone of the speaker is. This one it's like kind of hard to see because this is such a like thick material. It's a little easier maybe on this one where it lights up the cone of the speaker. And then I usually start by positioning my mics right at the center of the speaker. You can do different things like pull them a little off to the side, which can have a lot of different effects depending on your speakers or amps. Sometimes that's a nicer, like smoother response. You can pull them off to the side and angle them at the center of the cone. That I found usually gives me like a much more attack driven tone from recording, but it can really vary quite a lot. But those are just a few things to do. But I always start out just dead center, and I line up the two microphones to make sure that they're going to be in that same phase relationship like we were talking about earlier as well. Recording the bass, I took a DI signal. When I send the bass directly into this like DI box, which we have, it splits the signal, so I can take just the direct thing from the instrument like we were doing for the scratch takes, and I can split it and take another out that goes into the bass amp. This is really nice because with bass, a direct signal actually captures most of the low end that you're going to get, and then the amp kind of gets the different color that you want from it, whether you want to like, you know, more driven tone or brighter tone. For this, we definitely got like a lot more brightness out of the amp, and I put this microphone on it, the same large diaphragm condenser that we were using earlier in cardioid this time, so it's just taking the one direction. And for the bass and the guitars, I pretty much go right in the center of the cone of the speaker. For vocals, I always like to try out at least two different options of microphones. Vocals and vocalists can vary so much in the way they sing, how their voice sounds, and various things. And because it's such a pure tone, the microphone that you're singing into will have a pretty big impact on how that tone all translates. So from what I have at home, my go-to two that I try out is the large diaphragm condenser, the NT2A, and this ribbon microphone. The ribbon microphone is unnamed because it's actually unbranded. But this microphone, like we sort of talked about before, will probably have a much like brighter, more detailed sound to the voice. And also like a higher gain stage. So it's just gonna like pick up a lot of nuance, whereas that microphone often kind of has a smoother effect on the voice, kind of rounds things out, and often responds better to like lower or has a lower frequency response. So maybe doesn't respond better to a lower voice. Maybe it's actually the opposite. You want to use it on a higher voice to like balance it out. But yeah, we'll find out when we test some vocals.
Hi, we're High Viz.
And today we just recorded our song Riverside Down with Jackie. Thanks for watching. Bye.